Hi everybody, welcome. I'm doing a special report, WSO special report. And basically what I'm doing tonight is I'm going to bring you up to speed with all the best imagery, all the most convincing evidence that I've seen since I've been doing this in December of 2015. That's how long I've been doing it. So let's take a look at what we got. And I've organized it by the shapes, the colors, the planets, and the stars of the Wormwood system. All the things that I've observed with all my team and the whole network and all the subscribers. So the first shape I want to talk about is this object with the orbiting body around it. It seems to be some kind of a star or some kind of a planet with one orbiting unit around it. We see it in a variety of places. We see it as lens refraction sometimes. We've seen it on LASCO images. This is actually Thor News actually was asking the nerds what it was, and I'm not sure if I ever went back and looked and saw what their answers might have been. Here's in Vancouver, we actually saw this object directly. Here is a picture of it where we see it, I'm pretty sure this is from Oak Harbor. Can't remember if it's in Oregon. And then we see this, very clearly we were seeing it in Norfolk, in England. And then they've subsequently taken down this webcam since this has gotten so huge and big. And you'll also know notice the blue object with the large red leading edge. Here's that. This is usually when you get this black dot, it's because I think the pixels get overloaded, is one explanation I've heard. But when you see two dots like that, it kind of makes you think. This is from England, by the way. The second shape I wanted to talk about was the ball with the lights all over it. Here's what I mean. You ever see this thing before? There's all kinds of stuff on the internet about this thing, okay? By the way, these are all images that I've collected since December. So all of these are new, and if there's an older one, I'll tell you. This is from like New Jersey. This is where we actually see, actually where we see it in a lens flare. We see it directly. Here's when somebody actually got direct photographs of it. Here it is. It kind of expresses in different colors, sometimes brown, sometimes bluish. Here's a direct shot of it again. Just very, very strange. This one is a little older. This is from earlier in 2015, but you can see they're trying to chemtrail over it. The next shape I wanted to talk about that I think would help you to understand the kinds of things that I look for when I'm seeing in the imagery that I see from all over the world is this orb with a hole in it. I think we remember the Soho image from a couple weeks ago, right? It actually looks pretty close to some of the leaked imagery of the Nibiru system taken with infrared photography years ago. This is actually a direct telescopic image of this planet orb, whatever it is, and this is from Mark Reed in Australia. That's why he's able to get actual telescopic images, because he's in the right position to look at it. Here's that Soho image from just a couple weeks ago. And then one of my really sweet subs Sandy Taylor put this little thing together, and she actually found this old image, and I know you guys all saw this before, but it's just interesting that there's some historical references to some of this stuff that maybe has a relationship to this orb with a hole in it. Here's Mark getting another kind of a image of it. Here's obviously a refraction of some sort, but somehow reflecting the same shape and with that strange hole in it. The next shape 4, is the orb surrounded by the red cloud. This is the one that really shocks me. This is, of course, Davis Station, the South Pole. You can still see this today if you want to go to that webcam. It's basically the Australian South Pole Station, and it's basically looking straight down from the Earth, from the bottom of the Earth out into space. And this is what we actually see, is this orb with a large red cloud around it. Now, my theory is that's the manifestation of the iron oxide cloud as these two binary stars are interacting with each other. And then we also got the triangle. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is from Webcams de Mexico and Leon. And we also see the same basic shape and configuration. And as you blow it up, you can actually see it's the orb with some kind of a cloud around it. And then back to Davis again, you can see the orb. This is just from a couple of days ago. And then this was straight on. This actually is another one of the sky cams that got taken offline. I think it's still looping this image. I was actually taking it live, and I was just shocked when I was looking at it. This is when the sun and this object were so directly overhead Australia that this particular camera just picked up this image. There is no photoshopping. There is no manipulation of this image. I can show you the loops. Many people have seen it other than me. But this is the one that got me, because I looked at this one in Australia. It took Australia or something like that. And I said, well, to myself, I must be able to see it from the South Pole a little more clearly. And that's when I found the Davis station camera and was able to corroborate these two very important images to my research. But this one just freaked me out, man. I mean, I think we were looking at it so direct on that we were actually seeing a reflected or magnified image because of the gravitational forces, magnetic forces of the sun, and it actually amplified it so that we looked at it directly on, and that's what I think that thing looks like. That looks like wormwood to me. Again, that's just a more close-up so you can see it clearly. And then when you go to cameras like in Brazil, you get the same effect. Again, relatively direct, straight-on shots of the orb surrounded by the red cloud during that time. This is just another perspective from the Brazil cam that shows that, again, orb surrounded by a red cloud. We see this also, this huge, like either plasma cloud or interaction with the sun. We think that this is actually wormwood here in the middle, and as it's approaching the Earth, and it's meeting resistance with the sun, and it's causing this plasma reaction of some sort. The next shape we want to talk about are sundogs. And again, this is all the best imagery that I've had and the kind of dots that I've connected together. Just get a little drink of water there. So, sundogs. We all see them all around the world. All of a sudden, strangely, we see this strange effect of sundogs with this very orange-red color. Never a rainbow, always this orange-red colored sundog. Sometimes on both sides of the sun, sometimes on a big halo, as we're going to look at. The sundog expresses itself from the South Pole, the Neumayer station, like that, which is also reminiscent of the orb with the red cloud around it. This was interesting. This one was just unbelievable. This one is from Canada, and actually seeing this just unbelievable effect. Now, one of the things that a lot of people will say to me is, well, I can't see anything. Well, you've got to take pictures because your picture has a faster lens speed than your eye. So you need to look shutter speed than your eye. So you need to use cameras. Take pictures of the sky. See what you find on your camera. You'll be shocked. This person did not see this with the naked eye. Here's somebody that's actually putting the pieces together, starting to connect the dots. And then we've got this huge, sometimes we've got this huge orb or like huge orbular red cloud, and they try desperately to hide it when it manifests itself. There'll always be lots of chemtrails around the sun when this thing is visible. And then we get this, again, you'd think this is a multicolored rainbow, but it's not. It's actually shades of, it starts to get into some multicolors up here, but again, it's all those shades of orange and red. And again, it's just this manifestation of something different that we see all over the world. This is in my back. This is from my farm and fleet when I was getting horse feed, and they were desperately chemtrailing the sky that day because the sun dogs were showing up, and they were probably trying to hide something. And this is what I think they're trying to hide. See, this is something I haven't shown you folks. So when I look at sundogs, it's in a much earlier video where a lot of folks didn't see it. But this is the thing that rang my bell in December of 2015 when I actually saw from this Australian perspective where we're actually able to see the star itself inside, this now very visible interaction with the sun. That's the sun, of course, in the bottom of the picture. And there's that, that's what they're hiding, I believe, or manifestations therein. Something, it changes shapes, but basically there's that cross. It's just stunning. So when you see me talking about sundogs, I'm always thinking, are they hiding this? Are they hiding something like that? So when I look at these sundogs, I'm interested in them. Now here's one that manifests from the side view. Now usually this is the sun flare activity that's going on here, or lens glares. That is actually a side view, and again another manifestation of it. And then this is a camera from Italy. Again, just randomly pulled it up one day and boom, there it was. My hometown, one of my hometown areas, I'm from Wisconsin. This is from a local weather station that actually caught again, what I think is wormwood. Here's a night shot of one of those plumes. And again, this is reminiscent of the kinds of plasma reactions that you see when lots of energy is being exchanged between two bodies. Check out the Thunderbolts project. I think you'll learn what I'm talking about. This is from Florida, again, just very intense, but not, it doesn't even look like a sundog at that point. It looks like a round object. And this is from my farm, and you can see the sundog there. Again, I think it's that. I think it looks something like that when it's not being chemtrailed to death. Then the sixth shape we want to talk about are triangles. So the first triangle is just something I looked at today, actually, but this is since February 9th. We've been seeing this kind of greenish triangle from triangle, or it's kind of more of a parabolic, I don't know what you call it, parallelogram. But anyway, it's triangular type shapes that we see from, actually from Alaska. And then people are starting to catch these triangle shapes in the sky, sometimes chemtrailed, sometimes higher up in the atmosphere. Then of course we got the ominous triangle in the South Pole. And then sometimes when we're looking at light, it seems to be refracting in a triangular shape, which tells me that we're seeing some very fancy refraction happening up there with that chemtrailing that they're doing. It's another triangle that showed up. I think this one's from Chile. This one's from somewhere further north. I can't remember. And again, there's that big triangle that just keeps growing and growing and growing since December. Now it's actually getting a little bit more oblong. And again, since the Earth is starting to tilt back as we go towards the spring solstice, these objects will most likely become more and more visible in the northern hemispheres now because they're close enough to be seen directly from the South Pole. It's just a matter of time before we'll be seeing them in the northern hemispheres this summer. And then of course we've got the triangle down here. This was caught from the ISS. And then shape 7, I'll call it the winged planet, but I think that we're either looking at a winged planet that I'll show you in some of the SOHO photography, satellite photography, or I think maybe the ancients were referring to this. And remember our little orb and orb, there it is again, boop, boop, boop. But this is the, the blue. I think this might be the, one possibility of why they called it the winged planet. This is not anything other than spectacularly wild, freaky, and trippy, because this is Mark Reed actually getting a telescopic image of it as it's actually just shedding material through space from Australia. And then from England we see this, the shape, the same shape here, and then we see this kind of orb in the middle, dot missing, and then we see the same thing in California, kind of. Again, I don't know if it's Nibiru or if it's the blue Kachina, or whatever you want to call it, but it is interesting. And then we see in the long-term imagery, we see the wing, like the wing type of configuration in long-term things. The next thing I wanted to talk about is we think that there's an iron oxide cloud that's around the system. So of course you've seen the Scott Kellys, you've been watching my videos from space, seeing this very bright, intense red iron oxide cloud. Remember Portugal? These are red cloud images that have been sent in to me from all over the world. India, Midwest United States, Sao Paulo. These are from all over the world. And again, we're doing iron oxide testing in the Midwest. I'd be interested to do iron oxide ground testing and water testing in South America if anybody wants to take on that project and send me the results. I think South America has been covered in iron oxide dust, Chile. And then we saw as it was approaching late last year, the Earth started turning red on the dark side because it's approaching in space and it's causing light to be red. This is interesting because this is actually not even the iron oxide cloud. This, as he panned over, this person saw obviously the red iron oxide, but actually caught a picture of a planet or Nibiru or whatever it was, and these were actually objects way back in the in the atmosphere. This is right after the snowstorms out east from Kentucky. This is from the Grumpy Moose Observatory. We've been seeing the red clouds up there all the time. This is from Hawaii. The lady didn't see this cloud or anything like that. This is from an earlier video. Tennessee, just in the morning, going to get their coffee, and all of a sudden this is what they're seeing. So it's not just that there's a red cloud, some red sunset here and there. It's that there's red sunsets everywhere in the world all the time, showing all manifestations of all kinds of weird stuff. Okay? So the red iron oxide cloud is approaching, and I think that we need to pay attention to that. The next thing is the planetary, or what I'm thinking are planetary bodies that we're capturing. Okay, and here's that Norfolk, again, taken down, gone. But this is a common thing where we'd see this big red orb, and then we'd see these planetary bodies, the blue Kachina, this smaller object orbiting this larger object, and then here's that iron oxide cloud. But there's the planets that we're seeing. And this is again, I think this is actually another manifestation of wormwood from webcams to Mexico, where we actually see the multicolored thing as the sun goes up as the sun raises every day. This is actually, somebody took a picture of this with their cell phone. This is a lot like a multi-orb thing on an extended photograph. One of the ways I think we can beat the chemtrails, if anybody can go back to old photography and do extended, exposure imagery, I'd like people to try and experiment with that. I'm going to try to experiment with it, so let's all see what we can come up with. But that's what that picture in the lower corner was because they had the extended old film process. They were able to kind of shed some of the, I think, effects of the chemtrailing and see what was behind. And that you can see that thick layer in the lower part of that, which again we broke through because of the old-fashioned photography. This is from Mark Reed again with his telescope, seeing the planets around the sun with a big chunk of cloud dust. This is from ISS, and this is a little bit enhanced so that we can see that there's some strange things going on. I think that's a very good close-up of the whatever we're looking at with the orbiting body around it and some other body there. And again, I don't name these things because I don't know what they're named. If that's kind of crazy. But anyway, this is just that picture from that lady in Florida a couple months ago, the one that caused so much stir on the internet. And I'm saying I've got images, 1,000 images like that now, and since December it's just been prolific. This is from Webcams to Mexico with a red orb in the sky. Why is there a red orb in the sky? This is from Kentucky on Super Bowl weekend. You can see the blue Kachina, I think, above the sun there. This thing here, or whenever you see something like this, it's usually a lens flare. This is from Webcams to Mexico. We keep seeing this thing. It doesn't seem to be moving, but every time the sun sets around it, there's all kinds of weird activity, and it looks like a planet. Here's one where we see one with stripes on it from Webcams to Mexico. See, you can see the orb in this picture. This one was shocking, one that I got from a friend of mine, Ronnie Del Rente. She actually found this picture. I don't know where it was in South America, but you can see that there's something eclipsing the sun. There is no lunar eclipse due anytime on the Earth that I know of until later this year. And then we've got, some clandestine places that are grabbing imagery. This is from ISS, though, and what's interesting about this is you can see the debris fields starting to show up around these planets and objects. This is actually, we caught the rising of this could have been the moon, but when it rose, it was red. Here we go with the object again from ISS. We don't know what it is. That's not the moon. So wormwood, right? I mean, there's this orb that we're catching around the sun, very close to the sun. I don't know what that is, but there you can see the dot in it again. So I don't know what that is close to the sun. Is that a star that got stuck to our sun, or did our sun capture something? I don't know. This was that balloon flight that I showed in a previous video, but there again, there's no way to deny it. There's an object out there emitting red light. This is a clear, one of the cool things about the view down in this is like one of the volcanoes, Papakatano or whatever, I can't pronounce it. But basically, it obfuscated that little groove in the middle so that we could see the difference between the two, either sun and this thing, or this, who knows, right? We're still studying it. Again, there's that kind of thing from Newmeyer, and this is from Savannah. This is just a close-up when that plume went behind the sun, and that would have put the star between the sun and that plume. And then there's that plume when it was raising up in one of the Monterey pictures, landscape pictures, and there's that. It's actually a multicolored, and I think that is the star itself. And that's just a reverse photograph to make it easier to see. And then this is from the mountains somewhere in the west, where we actually got a picture of it where it wasn't chemtrailed out. Again, this is just from Leon. And then this is from Australia. And this is from a flight in Nigeria. This is from Savannah Skies in Australia, where we see it and well documented. Just stop it if you want to read it. And then we have satellite imagery. Now, I want to point this out. This little U has been on the Soho cameras and has been causing a lot of consternation. And this is all just seems broken and everything like that. I'm going to show you a shocking photograph that, quite frankly, I forgot to show everybody months ago, and it will be the first time it's ever been seen. This is that image that was just basically showing, there's that orb with the smaller orb. There's some of the recognized objects like the triangle and a couple other things out there and debris. This is interesting. This is this little object down here that we caught on the core satellite imagery, and then when you expand it, it looks like some debris going behind something. Same thing coming off that satellite image. See, it's here and expanded up. It's got that look like a wing, like a phoenix or some kind of bird. Now, here's the image that I caught, and this was just me lucking out in the 5th of January 5th. I'm sorry, 2016. I was just skimming, and I pulled this core image down where they put them in prior to processing, and this is what I got. And I think it was before they've completely processed out the background. And if you'll notice, we are now, this actually shows what I think they were trying to obfuscate with this little thing here. That's just crazy stuff right there, man. That's the first time I've ever shown it on any video. And then we had, during the Christmas season, we had the, remember we had this thing going by. This is the Earth. And then we had this thing, which everybody said was Mercury, and it ended up going back around this way and back up over, and then it went across core 2, and everybody said that was Mercury. I don't know. And this is a familiar kind of shape if you've been around Wormwood or Planet X for any amount of time. But there's that. And then on the 25th, 1 month later, we saw this kind of object show up where it wasn't supposed to show up. And then in February, we had this, oh, okay, everything looks normal. There's the Earth, stuff in the background. And all of a sudden, and all of a sudden, wait a second, everything, all the stuff showing up over here. And then, back to normal again. So we know that they're trying to obfuscate imagery from the satellites. It's just fun when we can catch them. This is, this is that program that David Mead told us about, where you can plug it in, backdoor to NASA IRAS satellite imagery. And there you can see the winged planet, and you can see some of the other objects that we've been talking about. And then we also have the IRAS photography showing the, again, the dragon-looking thing, and just crazy satellite imagery. Unbelievable stuff, guys. And then just weird stuff. I showed this lightning stuff the other day. This is stuff from earlier in the year from Germany, where we can see the plume just like, manifesting itself in a very big way. This is from that Core 2 image where it looks like a freaking bird. I mean, that's crazy stuff, guys. Here's just from a couple weeks ago. You guys all, or a couple days ago, you remember this image where this cloud or whatever it was so thick, it obfuscated the sun of the light, and then it came out on the top. I mean, that's just crazy stuff. And then we got, at first I thought these were just ice crystals on the camera, and then I looked closer. This is from the Aurora Cam up in the North Pole in Alaska on January 27th. Somebody had been watching stuff really close, and all of a sudden saw this manifestation of things flying in the air. This is all very strange. Then we've got beams of light. This is from Indonesia, from a subscriber. This is my own shot from Wisconsin. I was just looking at the sky, and the clouds split open just enough to see this beam of light. And then beam of light from other parts of the earth. And then we've got these weird, like, electrical discharges coming down. That's from Australia. We see it more in the south, southern hemisphere, obviously. And then they spare no expense to hide. I mean, guys, if you don't know that chemtrails are trying to hide this stuff by now, I think that we're not communicating very well. I mean, when they put a pentagram up in the sky, what the heck, man? It's time to call it. There are Luciferians in charge, and they are trying to hide this from us. And why are they trying to hide it from us? They're trying to hide it from us because they want to try to make God a liar. Because God said in the end times there were going to be signs and wonders in the heavens. And they are happening. But they're trying to obfuscate them so that people will not see them. I'm not even talking about the increasing meteor activity, okay? I'm not even talking about the fireballs that have been falling at an increasing rate. I'm not even talking about the earthquakes. I'm not even talking about the world power. All the world powers acting strange and getting ready to do land grabs because they know it's going to come down. I'm not talking even about the weather's out of whack or the global climate stuff. Something big is getting ready to happen. And the question is, will you go in knowing, accepting, get past the cognitive dissonance? It's time to prepare. Slap, slap. You need to wake up. I'm not kidding anymore. This is not a game, okay? I don't want you to go into this ignorant and helpless. It's going to be hard enough to make it through, so there's some things you can do, okay? So you convinced yet? There's a lot of trouble ahead, man. It's time to prepare. So I'm going to give you the list right now. Here's what you're going to do to prepare. And I'm not going to kid around anymore. This is all real, okay? This is all real. I have enough evidence. It piles up everywhere. I have subscribers, thousands of subscribers from around the world sending me stuff every day. You guys look at my reports. Go look at my 57, 60 videos. Everything in there. Do I make mistakes? Yeah. But there's enough evidence to overcome any mistake to show it corroborates. So the first thing you got to do, man, is get right with Jesus. I don't care if you're a Buddhist. I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't care what you are. You got to get right with Jesus. And why Jesus? You got to get right with Jesus because he's the way, the truth, and the life. We know that. And if there's any chance for you to get close to the real God during the times that we need him and the miracles that we're going to need from him through this period of time to live through it, it's a good time to start now. Okay? So getting right with Jesus, and I'll do it with you right now, man. I'll do it with you right now. Just say, hey, Jesus, and just ask Jesus to show up, and he will show up. Trust me on this. Jesus, he showed up in my room. Jesus, did he show up in your room? I don't care about your religious science bullshit. I don't care about your atheist. I don't care. Is Jesus in the room with you? Is he? Because he's real. And he bled and he died on a cross for you, and he wants you to come home now so that he can help to prepare you. Okay? Take the step and let him in right now. Number 2. And pray all night if you have to. Ask Jesus to show up. He'll show up. I trust me. He will. No less than 3 weeks of food and water. Sleeping bags and tents so you can move and roll. A ready-to-rock bag with radio, first aid, candles. Common sense stuff. Like you're preparing to escape from Florida from a hurricane, or you're trying to escape from California from an earthquake. Okay? It's common sense. And even if none of this is real, the getting right with Jesus and having a bug-out bag is a good idea. Okay? So, this is Steve Olson. I wanted to catch you guys all up with where I was, with all the things that I've been seeing, so that you can also now understand what I'm talking about in the future videos. And I'm not going to spring the gospel on you every time I talk to you, and I'm not trying to proselytize. I just want you to know there's some basic things that you need to do to prepare. And that's the list right there, right now. And when you get that stuff ready, I'll give you more tips. Good night, everybody.